Howdy folks, how are y'all doing? My name is Reese, and welcome back to the Minecraft 2025 Let's Play Adventure, where we are up here among where the creepers dwell, collecting some more gunpowder after our fun-filled adventure in the previous installment, of which I've not actually finished cleaning out my inventory. It's still a little bit of a mess, but that's okay, because we're waiting on a Minecraft music drop to happen at the moment. Because I know this track. I've heard all the Minecraft music repeated so many times in this series that I know this one's got a crazy drop in it, and I kind of wanted to try to time it to when I jumped off the island, but I'm not super confident that I'm going to be able to do it, because I don't know the exact moment that the drop happens. I just know that it happens, right? So I'm kind of like waiting to see, like with anticipation, if when it happens, I can sync it up. And today what we're going to be doing is a little project that we've talked about needing to do for a while now. We're going to take down that old boat. That old wrecked ruin right there is finally getting destroyed. It's getting removed. Some people, you know, I've heard some people say it adds character. You know, it adds a little bit of texture. It adds a little history to the world. Well, look, it just takes up space that I need. I need that space to extend the island and eventually kind of add more village stuff to it. Okay. I wanted the drop to happen when I jumped off the island, and was exactly early enough that it happened when I hit the water, which almost made it seem intentional, but I promise you it wasn't. I actually messed up. That's okay. I didn't mean to walk off the edge of the island when I did, but I also know in my heart of hearts that I would not have gotten out at the right time. I need to take that horse over to live with all the other horses now that I think about it. What are you selling? What have you got? We tried naming one of you with a name tag, and I forgot all about that. I don't know whatever happened to that guy. Eye blooms are cool. I think we can just go get those from the woods, what exists over that way. But they're pretty cool. Unfortunately for him, what's cooler is leads. They have more worth and value, especially to me. Are you gonna just bother all of my creatures? What are you doing in here? What else you got? I wasn't really paying a lot of attention. Tropical fish. You can live in there, I don't care. Just leave the jackrabbit alone. Where did the jackrabbit go? It only just occurred to me that the jackrabbit might be able to get on that ledge, and then in here, and then get eaten by Ash. So, well, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time we've lost an animal to unfortunate circumstances, now would it, in this series, tragically. Also, I don't think I like the cobblestone. I think I might be getting rid of it. Also, I don't really know if we need to go inside. I was going to go empty out my inventory, so we would have enough room to begin the process of dismantling the boat, but I'm not sure. I was also trying to think of a topic of discussion for today, and I had a few different ones. I was like, we could talk about John Boyega's comments about Star Wars fans. I was like, that's a pretty hot button issue. Might not want to get into that one. And then I thought about it, and I was like, oh, you know what's going to lead to really calm, collected discourse with absolutely no flaming in the comment sections? We could talk about the Switch 2. First off, I just want to say, if you are someone who has been along with the ride, let me restart that sentence. I can do better. The first thing I want to say about the Switch 2 is that if you are someone for whom the Switch 2 hype cycle was your first console hype cycle, and you think, finally, because I've seen a lot of people say this, you think, finally, it's out and I can stop hearing about it. You fool! This never ends! I've been there before! I watched the Wii 2 hype build into the Wii U. I was there when Project NX hit the scene. I watched and lived through the hype of the DS and the 3DS and the new 3DS. I was there for the Switch Pro rumors. Alright? It doesn't stop here just because the Switch 2 is announced. Alright? If you genuinely live with such ignorance, ooh, to be you and believe that it's all over now and you don't have to hear more, folks. Did you notice that the Switch 2 doesn't have an OLED screen? When do you think the Switch 2 OLED's coming out? When do you think the Switch 2 Lite is coming out? When do you think the Switch 2 Pro is coming out? When do you think the Switch 3 is coming out? When do you think the Switch 2 TV edition is coming? Folks, it doesn't end! You fool if you think it ends now! This has only just begun! It never ends! No, but really, the hype cycle does just resume. I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting this thing down here. Should we use this one? Don't we have like a... We have a different one that's Silk Touch, but there's nothing up here that requires Silk Touch. Yeah, now that the Switch 2 has been announced, you know, there's gonna be the hype train for its release, and then there will be a little bit of time. You might have a short reprieve, where people are just talking about games that might be coming out for it soon. But folks, no, listen. I'm not saying Switch 3 rumors are right around the corner. What I am saying is that a lot of people are saying, finally, Nintendo's caught up with present-day consoles. Not really, no. No, I'm sorry to tell you that they haven't. They're much further ahead now than they were with the release of the original Switch. But, look, the technology constantly marches forward. And once this thing is out, people are going to realize some of the shortcuts that have to be taken to actually get games running at the different resolutions, 4K 30, 1080p 120, that's crazy, and I love that. I'm so glad that's a thing. I'm assuming most of that is enabled with features like DLSS and FrameGen, because, look, I mean, that hasn't been officially announced. Or maybe it has been, I'm not sure, but I do know that Nintendo is using NVIDIA for this, much like they did in the last generation, and so they're going to be taking advantage of all those different features, and that's fine. I have nothing against those features. I hate when modern AAA games on like high-end PCs require them to operate because they're poorly optimized, but I think those features were made for products like the Nintendo Switch, and I think that it's going to suit it very well. I think that's going to be great to have those kind of performance boons. But it's not on par with modern consoles. I've seen that bandied about, and that's simply not true. Not in terms of raw power, at least. That said, I'm sure it's still going to be good, but the point I'm getting at is that people are going to, very soon, start speculating about what's next. Will they come out with a Switch Pro? A Switch 2 Pro. What about the Lite? I really like the Lite form factor. I want to get a Switch 2, but I'd prefer a Switch 2 Lite. Do you think they'll come out with one? And I'm sure that they will. And you're going to start seeing the rumors. There's going to be leaks from the factory. People are saying that, this isn't actually the Switch 2. This is going to be the Switch 2 Mini. They're not going to do a Lite. This is the Switch, and then they're going to do a bigger one, and it's the Switch 2 XL. You're going to see these rumors. They're going to start popping up, and you're going to go, wait a minute, no, but the Switch is out. No, but the Switch is out. It's over. It's over. It's never over. Okay, it's never... I'm preparing you right now. The hype train doesn't end here. Okay, I'm so sorry to disappoint you. The rumor mill is going to kick up again, and there will be talks of a Switch 2 OLED, and a Switch 2 Pro, and a Switch 2 Lite, and a Switch 2 XL, and a Switch 2 TV edition. That was rumored for the original Switch all the way back at its launch. Like, okay, they're launching this one at $300, but they're going to release a TV-only version, kind of like the PlayStation Vita TV. I think it was just called PlayStation TV. It's only going to be, like $100 less. It's not going to have a screen or a battery or anything. That's going to happen. Okay? And I'm just preparing you. If you've actually sat back and thought, finally it's over, I just want you to be ready, and I want you to understand that this never ends. I've been at this long enough to know that this never ends, okay? And I'm sorry if this is the generation where you're having to learn that lesson. Just remember, for someone, it'll be the Switch 3. The Switch 3 will finally come out. Assuming Switch 2 is successful and Nintendo doesn't become just like a third-party publisher, which I wouldn't be super opposed to, because the idea of playing Xenoblade Chronicles games on Steam, on my PC at 4K 120 Hz, like, is very appealing to me. But, you know, for someone, the Switch 2 is going to be their first console, and the Switch 3 hype train is going to be their first sort of a rumor mill hype cycle. And they, too, on the release of the Switch 3, if it ever comes into being, they will say, thank God it's finally over. And they, too, will be disappointed. And you'll be in my shoes. You'll be making YouTube videos where you destroy a boat and talk about how it's never over! And it's true. It's just 100% true. It's a tragic part of our life. It's a tragic part of our world. These things just never, ever end. And that's okay, because I love the hype cycle. I think a lot of people get confused and think, oh, but you can never be happy with what you have if you're just always waiting for something else. Where'd you get that idea from? I'm very happy with all the things that I had. You know, recently I got that new CPU. I knew in August of 2023, it was announced from Minis Forum that they were releasing this processor with the X3D chip. I went ahead and bought the non-X3D one, thinking that the X3D one would be right around the corner. And I was always waiting it. I was always anticipating. I was constantly... the way that they announced this thing, by the way, was ridiculous. Someone just asked if it'll ever come out with an X3D version. And they're like, oh, yes, that'll be out in March. This isn't a reply to a comment on a YouTube video. They're just like, yeah, it's coming out in March. That was the big announcement. Someone else on Reddit was like, yeah, I didn't believe that. I followed this very closely. Someone was like, I didn't believe him, so I contacted... Well, okay, they didn't say I didn't believe them. I think they said they contacted support for verification, and support was just like, yeah, it'll be out in March. That was their big announcement, was to just say it in a YouTube comment and then reiterate it to someone who asked via the support ticket system on their website. Now, you might think the entire time, I must not have enjoyed having the non-X3D version, because no, I thought that processor was awesome. I thought it was such a good little ITX board, and I played a lot of games on it, and I played a lot of things that I recorded. Like, most of this Minecraft series was recorded on it. Most things that you've watched over the last year and a bit were recorded on it, and it was great, and I have zero complaints about it. So, yeah, you can be hyped about things in the future while still enjoying what you have. I will be hyped for the Switch 2, even though I'm currently playing Xenoblade Chronicles X on... I almost said X3D. I've been playing Xenoblade Chronicles X. Wait a minute, this is what I bought. Hold on. I brought this down here for this exact purpose, so I don't have to leave. There we go. There we go. Okay, just toss all this in there. I can't wait for the new one to come out, right? So I can start using it to play this game and the other Xenoblade games. But I also still playing with the Switch. And look, as excited I've been for like the next Switch since the first one came out, I've enjoyed my time with the original Switch. Now, all of that said, you're probably thinking, Reese, when are we going to discuss pricing? Pricing's crazy, and they canceled pre-orders. People are speculating that... Well, they haven't canceled pre-orders. They canceled the pre-order start date. It was supposed to happen, I think, on the 10th or the 8th. I might be wrong about that. And they decided to cancel that. A lot of people think it's because of tariffs. And maybe the price might be changed. And that could be the case. I'm not really concerned one way or the other. It is expensive. I think a lot of that's just due to inflation. A lot of that's due to these parts are more powerful. They're going to cost more. And... I think it is. I think the bigger issue is that they've lost the plot on game pricing. $80. $80 for a Mario Kart game. I do like what I've seen of that game, though. It's not what I wanted. I wanted Super Smash Bros. Kart, where you have all these characters, and then also there's a battle component to it. I know you kind of battle in, you know, your regular old Mario Kart. You're throwing bananas at people and all that. But I'm talking more like if you've ever played the game... What am I looking at right there? Oh, that's a reflection of the beams. Never mind. If you ever played the game Star Wars Racer Revenge, not Racer, Racer Revenge, dude, that was pretty slick, man. You came at me real fast there. I was impressed by that. Very good stealth attack, 10 out of 10. Is someone throwing spears? Okay, we'll deal with that when it gets to us. Racer Revenge was cool because it actually rewarded you for destroying other racers on the track. That was such a cool, fun idea. And I wanted that. I wanted Super Smash Kart Racing. And we didn't get that, but I like what this game is kind of shaping up to be. $80 though. That's a crazy price, and I'm not sure if it justifies that price yet. I've seen people say, "Oh, but the physical is going to be $90." I don't think that's true. I think that's based on people not understanding that different countries have different currencies. And sometimes the dollar is more or less powerful than those other countries, and sometimes they're going to charge, you know, they're going to get charged 90 and we're going to get charged 80. In any case, that's crazy expensive. I can't fathom that. I definitely think that I will be less gung-ho about buying new games for this system than I was the Switch when it came out. I bought a bunch of Switch games. I think that here's the other issue, right? Talking about hype and talking about being excited. Actually, not all that excited for Switch 2. Even in the sort of immediate lead-up to it, I was like, yeah, it's happening, and I feel like I should be excited. But I just know in my heart that I'm not, for a couple of different reasons. One, Nintendo's done a lot of things as a company over the last few years that irk me and irritate me and that I can't support. So, just from that perspective, I'm not a big Nintendo fan anymore. I'm a fan of games that Nintendo makes. I'm just not a fan of the company. I don't think it's a good company. I think it's a little bit wretched at times in the way that it treats its fan base and the way that it, in quotes, guards its intellectual property. I think is how they would want it portrayed. I'm not willing to give them such kind phrasing. Get him, pufferfish! You get that guy. Oh, he killed the pufferfish. I'm not willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on that and call it that. I don't respect... I don't appreciate the company. I appreciate their games, though. I really do. I love... some Mario games are great. You know, I love The Legend of Zelda. I really enjoy Xenoblade Chronicles. And they've got other IPs. I liked that Kirby game, Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. That was fun. Mario Wonder is one of the best Mario games ever made. I really like Mario Odyssey. I'm really worried that whatever the next 3D Mario game will be is going to be more so based on Bowser's Fury, because when that game came out, a whole bunch of really... Ugh, no, I can't say that. That's mean. A bunch of people on the internet made videos about how this is the future of Mario. This is the direction they should go in. And look, that was a fine experience, but no, what the future of Mario should be is more Mario Odyssey. You can complain about there being too many moons. That's fine, have that complaint. But the way that game controlled and the way it played, the levels, you know, the world layout and all of that, that's my favorite Mario game ever made. I love that game. I want more of that. And I'm concerned we're not going to get more of that, which is disappointing. I wanted it to go to space. You had Mario Odyssey, right? You could call it Mario Odyssey to the Stars. And then in brackets, Mario Galaxy 3. It's a sequel to both. Anyway... Now, my main issue here is when I got the Nintendo Switch, the first generation Nintendo Switch, it quickly became my most played gaming device. Not just console. If that game came out PC and my Nintendo Switch, I got it on the Switch. It wouldn't run as well and it wouldn't look as good, but it had the advantage of being super conveniently portable, which was unique at the time, right? I didn't want a gaming laptop because they were huge and bulky. I didn't want to haul around a big laptop. The funny thing being, I would go on years later to get a... I was holding this in my offhand to repair it while I was killing creepers. It just occurred to me that it's still there. I now carry around a massive laptop to edit videos. I get it. Very funny. But I didn't want a gaming laptop. Gaming laptops have come a long way also since the release of the Switch. They have better battery life and can run more efficiently depending on what you get. But at the time the Switch came out, that was it. If you wanted to game on the go, the Switch was it. And I loved it. I loved that I could pop it out of the dock when I'm done recording or streaming, take it to work with me, take it to bed with me, and I would take the sacrifice. I would take the hit to visuals and performance to play it on the go. And now the Steam Deck exists, and I have that. And there are other handhelds that are coming out that are going to support SteamOS. And I can't see myself. In fact, I already know. If a game comes out on PC and a game comes out on Nintendo Switch 2, I'm getting it on PC. I can do the same thing. I don't dock my Steam Deck, I'll give you that, but I can play the same games on my PC at 4K 120, and then play them on my deck when I'm like going to bed or going to work or whatever. People often ask, how do you play games at work? I have downtime. There are these convenient little moments throughout the day where I have maybe 20 minutes I can sit down and play a little bit of a game, which adds up. It adds up. It's convenient. It's great. It's one of the things I like about my job. Oh, really? I seem to remember sleeping on all that long ago, but okay, that's fine. We can do this. Also, at sunrise again. At sunrise again. That's the second time they've struck at sunrise instead of sun. Are they broken? Are they out of sync? What's going on around here? What is that? Comment down below. Let me know. But yeah, I'm going to get the Switch 2 for the Switch games. I still, regardless of how I feel about Nintendo as a company, I love their product. Okay? Love the Marios and the Zeldas. I played Metroid for the first time with Metroid Dread. I thought that was phenomenal. I might have played one of the other games before. No, I played them afterward. I played some on the Virtual Console. You know, am I upset that we're getting, you know, GameCube games instead of getting the remasters that came out on the Wii U for the Zeldas? Yes, I am. I want the Twilight Princess remaster, and I want the Wind Waker remaster, and I don't understand why they won't just give them to me, so I'll give them money. It doesn't make any sense. They make baffling choices, Nintendo. But that's pretty much all I have to say on it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not as hyped for it as I would have been had the Steam Deck and other handhelds not existed, but they do now. So the Nintendo Switch for me is just a box to play Nintendo games. And for that, I hope they put out some bangers. You know, I like the idea of playing the remastered games. They're not the remastered, but the upgraded games. Apparently, I don't think we know how much they cost as upgrades to get the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of like Breath of the Wild. But I heard someone say that if you have NSO, it's a free upgrade. So that's nice. Good value out of NSO. They keep adding better value to it. That's cool if that's true. I'm trying to think now. I think you might have to have the expansion pass for that. I haven't even verified that, but that's cool. If it gets bumped up in price by the time this video comes out, might have to reevaluate it. You know, I'm not sure if it's getting close. It's getting close. If it goes up another $100, it's like, okay, I mean, why not just spring for a PS5 Pro if you're in the market for a console? But it's the Nintendo games. It's the only reason I'm looking forward to it. It's the Nintendo games. Explore Lush Cave. We did that. We found some creepy caves underneath the Lush Caves. I guess we probably need to go explore those too. Did I ever take down the boat up here? It doesn't look like it. Automate wolf. Oh, wolf farm? That's not right. Did I type that? It's supposed to be wool. How have I not noticed that before? That's weird. There we go. Problem solved. Get the mushroom. Easter special. I keep forgetting about that. I need to get that set up. Oh, also I realized that Distant Horizons was in fact not running on the server last time because I had just taken it out of the server, like the mod folder, to get the server running and like do some testing, and I forgot to add it back. It's running on there now. I had to actually go into the world file and delete all of the Distant Horizons data that had been generated from when the world was single player because it was causing it to corrupt and crash, but now it's good. Thank you folks for joining me for this extended discussion about the Nintendo Switch. Let me know down below if you're excited about the Nintendo Switch 2. Let me know if you're looking forward to the Nintendo Switch Pro, Nintendo Switch 2 Pro OLED XL. I'm looking forward to that. I think that one will be good. Yes, it should have been called the Super Nintendo Switch, but that would have confused consumers, and then we'd have another Wii U situation on our hands. So for the best, that didn't happen. Games are too expensive. Console would be nice if it was less expensive. Trying to figure out if there's any other talking points. I guess that's it. Thank you folks for watching. God bless you, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.